Card Ladder.
Josh, because you and I talked about this a little on text, and there's not a lot of awareness, and for good reason. It's very convenient to tell the story that the pandemic triggered this hobby boom, and it's really easy to understand. Everybody's locked away at home, so they have extra money because they can't do leisure activities. Plus, they have a lot of time. They're discovering their collections. It's a very neat, tidy story to tell. But as you said earlier on this stream, you saw cards beginning to move in late 2018. I can even speak to 2016. I remember buying a Competitive Advantage Michael Jordan BGS 9 in the summer of 2016 for around $110 and selling it 6 months later for $275 and realizing right away that this market's moving. And I thought about why. And, it's probably because lots of people in roughly all three of our age range rediscovering the hobby, much like the three of us did. So let's talk a little bit to wherever you want to take it, about how much of this boom was actually already starting, or maybe the seeds were being planted before the pandemic started.
Yeah, well, let's be super explicit. Trading cards were going to blow up in 2020 anyway. Right? It just so happened that the pandemic happened, and did that throw a little bit more fuel to the fire? Maybe, right? Just like all e-commerce, grew up and benefited from it. But one of the most frustrating things, as I have watched all of these welcome to the trading card industry stories, and again, comparing this back to trading cards, same thing in 2013, 2014, 2015. There was just a flood of welcome to the sneaker industry stories of everyone continuing to tell that story. And back then, they would ask, whether it was me or somebody else, almost every time the reporters would ask some version of the question, like, what sneakers should we invest in, right? And I'm like, or they would ask some question like, what's the most expensive sneaker you own? Or what's the most expensive sneaker you bought? And I'm like, that's such a clickbait, like lazy question that has like so little to do with like what is going on here in the bigger picture. And in the same way where like it seems like almost every reporter starts their story with the pandemic has led to the trading card industry boom. It's like you're missing everything if that's the story here, right? The first national that I went to, was in Atlantic City in like the 90s, but the first national I went to on the way back was the last one that we had, which was the summer of 19. And I remember sitting, like going there, and we had a little booth at StockX, and we're on there, and it was like, oh, this is so obvious. Like it was just all of me, right? It was just like all like 43-year-old guys walking around, some of whom had their kids, other, like, it was like, and every, I would say every smart person, but even like most of the dumb people in the industry, everyone said the same thing, which was like, oh yeah, like everyone's coming back into it. Everyone's in their 40s. They have money. Like it was such an obvious thing it's about generations, right? It's about the people coming back and trading cards being cool again. And so, yeah, it's unbelievable how much like reporters can't, like they should be asking at least one level down, like it's unbelievable that they don't get to that quicker. And it's unbelievable that the people that speak about the industry most, like, I don't know if they miss that, or they people like talking about the most expensive card. They like saying, how many stories have had a picture of Rob in his $5.2 million mantle, not to like continue to like talk shit about Rob, but it's whatever, it's clickbait versus like the math of and the supply and demand. Like this is Econ 101 at its most basic. Like this is supply and demand at its core. This is like first semester of Econ 101, and nobody really like wants to have like an economics lesson, right? They want to talk about $5.2 million cards. So fair enough. Yeah.
Dude, I'm with you on that, because you're right. Like the surface level, the guy who wants to make money, the article they read about the big LeBron sale or Mickey Mantle, but the actual heartbeat of the hobby is the cultural relevance of it, the generational attachment to it, the sports attachment. There's all these like very emotional ties to it where we as humans just really find ourselves wanting to do it more and more. And frankly, we just like owning the cards, and we like owning the shoes, and we like physically having these things that connect us to our childhood, and they have all these crazy emotional ties. That's the heartbeat of the hobby, and that's what keeps us going forward, not these like surface level bullshit like clickbait articles, like you said. So I'm glad that we're fighting the good fight as much as we can, and trying to explain that like there's so much more to it than that.
Imagine everything you love about the hobby in the palm of your hand. An entire store at your fingertips. Everything you need to know about cards is within your grasp. Unlock the secrets of the hobby. Plus, so much more. You don't have to imagine anymore. It's here. Card Ladder. Get the app today.